divine mission that we are on this morning, a mission that takes us around the world as we swallow in the transatlantic ocean of the slave trade. Being at the Ark of Return, we thank you yesterday as we celebrated life force of this new year with the world community at the United Nations. We just saying thanks. On this Saturday morning, we have witnessed snow and rain, all of the elements that we may enjoy and the elements we may not ever enjoy, but they are your elements of life. Let us be submissive to your divine will and energy on the project that we are nurturing in because you are allowing us to do so. Let us just say in our humble words and in our humble voice and our humble means what we say every day to you in our humble way. I would say give thanks of seeing a new day. Just give thanks. Give thanks on this day as each one of us we moan and groan and give thanks in our own way. Thank you for allowing us to be present with each other this day.
Ashe. Thank you,
Ashe,
Queen.
Ashe,
Ashe. Thank you so much. I want to acknowledge Antonio Isupiero, who is one of our previous fellows who has joined the space. And all of you will have a moment to say a few words later on. Antonio, if you want to say a few words later. But I just want to make sure folks know that you are one of our previous fellows. Okay, I would like to ask that Kalindah, who is one of our new fellows, are you ready to pour libations for us?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
So at this time, we give honor to the divine being, the creator and creatress, and all of the divine manifestations that the divine emanates this world through the sun, the moon, the stars, the herbs, the trees, the waters. We give honor to all of those ancestors who suffered through the transatlantic slave trade. To this we say, never, ever again.
Okay.
We give honor to all those ancestors that we left behind who grieved our presence. To this we say, never, ever again.
Mm-hmm.
We give honor to all of our ancestors who suffered violence and oppression on this land. To this we say, never, ever again. We give honor to our honored and cultivated ancestors who carried and transmitted culture to us. To this we say, bien merci, bien merci, bien merci. We give honor and reverence to our beloved ancestors, those whom we've had the pleasure of spending time with in this realm during our lifetimes. To this we say, bien merci, bien merci, bien merci. We give honor to all those ancestors who have yet to come through our lineages as newborn babies. N'a pas donné l'honneur pour tout quelque chose nous a fait pour toi. N'a pas donné l'honneur pour nos ancêtres et nos vieux moun. N'a pas dit bien merci. Aïe kunja, aïe kunja, aïe kunja. Ashe, ashe, ashe.
Ashe. Thank you so much, Kalindah. Okay. Now, let me just explain to you a little bit about why we're here, those of you who don't know the history. But this concept of creating a Benin Kingdom Museum came out of the fact that the museums that exist today that possess these centuries-old relics called the Benin bronzes, the museums that possess them today do not mention the slave trade origin. And not only is that narrative absent from these museums, but it is also absent from the museums particularly in Nigeria. There's no mention and there's no acknowledgement, and a lot of folks just are completely unaware of the slave trade origin of the relics. So around me, you can see images. One is of Queen Adia, who is the Queen Mother, who was the mom or mother of the first Oba who began heavily creating bronzes. He's not the first. They were made before him. He headed up the Benin Kingdom starting in the 1500s. These bronzes were made probably from as early as the 11th century. But he actually began a heavy exchange of humans for this thing here called the manilla. And probably for 150 years, only women were sold into the transatlantic slave trade from the Benin Kingdom. And that was Isigi's decision, along with his mother, Queen Adia. Beneath the manilla, you see Portuguese slave traders holding rings of manillas, and these manillas and the Portuguese slave traders were very important because they were the folks who were doing that initial slave trading. 50 manillas bought a woman, 57 bought a male. And we were exchanged in this way for about 300 years. I've heard that there's as many as 10,000 bronzes that were made as a result of this exchange. And essentially, the bronzes were made from these manillas being melted and recast into these iconic treasures. Below, the lowest image here is the Queen Mother. Okay, this is the Queen Mother memorial or ceremonial head. And they're only made when the Queen Mother or the Oba are deceased. So this was made after death. So with this in mind, the history is very rich. The fact that we all are connected to them in some way. And when I say we all, what I mean is 93% of Afro descendants, that's descendants of enslaved Africans living in the Americas, and particularly in the United States, 93% of us are of Nigerian ancestry from the transatlantic slave trade. And from the Caribbean, about 82% of us fall into that category. Oh, one thing I may not have mentioned, I'm Deadria Farmer-Paellmann. I'm actually I am actually founder of the Restitution Study Group and the Benin Kingdom Museum. So just for those of you who, because I have not actually spoken to some of you fellows, so that is my name, just so you know. So just to back up. So bottom line is that this institution, we felt was necessary that we take some leadership in this issue so that if no one else is going to teach us the truth, that we take charge of that. Now, how we came to this fellowship was different. That actually was founded out of a meeting I had with Blake Hiltonen when he came to install some art shelves in my house. And we know Blake meets a lot of folk because we have one fellow here from the same kind of thing, Blake installing art shelves in her house. But the bottom line is that we talked about, whether or not I asked him, can you melt this down? And he said, yes, absolutely. And so that was 2023. And like for 2 years, we talked about doing this class. And finally, with a contribution from an heir of a slave trading family um, from the United Kingdom, we finally decided let's move forward because it's like now or never. And we combined that with funds from other donors, and we did the first fellowship. And so we are so blessed to have met you guys along the way to join in with this fellowship this time around. So speaking so much of the fellows, I think this is a good time to meet you all. So just to give you a brief idea of what the fellowship training is, and Blake is going to come and give you more information. Basically, what you all will be doing is learning traditional bronze making by making what something that is actually called a bronze, and that is a manilla. You're going to actually make a manilla, okay? Now we made the decision to do something this size because in the past let me see, I don't know if you'll be able to see it, and let me see if I can even lift it, but I have it here. Let's see if I can get it on the screen. It's not registering on the screen. Let's see. Okay, there we go. This amazing thing weighs, I don't know, at least 30 pounds. At least that's what it feels like. Um, and that takes a long time. It took 5 months. And as we learned later, that's how long these bronzes take. These Benin bronzes that are in these museums took months for folks to make. But the manilla you could make in a weekend. And so that's what you guys are going to be aiming to do. And you learn all the skills that you would need to make something that size. In addition to that, we have Julian Frost, who is a fellow, but he is the thank you. He's a tech genius. I'm just gonna label it the way it should be labeled. Okay. And he is the person that actually created the mold that we used to make the bronze that I just showed you. And he saved us at a tough time because we had museums promising that they'd let us in to make scans, and nobody came through in time for us. And so we found a 3D scan online, and we said, okay, can you do it with this? And Julian said yes, and he made it work. Okay, so you will be learning the scanning process and some things about printing, and every single one of you will have a bronze, but it's not going to be made out of of this. You're going to have a bronze replica, something small and something lightweight that's made out of what do we call it? Wax or some type of resin material. Okay, so everyone's going to get that. So you walk out of this program with a manila and a bronze replica, a printed replica. Okay, so that's what you'll be doing. Now, the question is, who are you and why do you want to go through this? Why do you want to do this? Three days to create these objects. I want to call on you in order to introduce yourselves, and it's going to be alphabetical order. Okay. So now I'm going to need help with pronouncing your names because we haven't had the privilege of having conversations one-on-one to discuss how to pronounce your names. But we're going to start with Zai or Zainab. Okay. And please correct the pronunciation and who are you? What do you do? Why do you want to be here? What is your ethnic and national background, because that's very important to this program. Okay.
Hi everyone. My name is Zainab Aliyu. I go by Zay. Zay rhymes with hey. Um, and yeah, I'm a Nigerian visual and conceptual artist based in Brooklyn, New York, Yoruba and Ido descent. And yeah, I'm really grateful to be with you all today and excited to meet some of y'all. Funny story of how I got here. I met Blake came to my apartment to help install some shelves. And I think you saw that I had like some sculptural books on those shelves. And then just coincidentally, like I've been researching like bronze, and I'll talk a little bit more about my practice, but that was a very like New York moment of like, thank God for the city. Like, I love meeting cool people. I'm sure you meet a lot of cool people installing those types of shelves. I think that's how you two met. But yeah, that's how I'm here today. And so I think yeah, in general with my practice, I'm often contextualizing my personal ancestral history within a larger social techno-political lens. I work across multiple mediums, like sculpture, video, installation, virtual environments, printed matter, and more. I think working across different mediums allows me to really explore my inquiries from different angles. Because I'm really conceptual in my practice, and so it's very research based. And so, yeah, I like to draw from multiple ontologies and create varied entry points to the different counter narratives that I construct. And recently, I've been working more with metal in my sculptural practice, which makes me especially excited to be part of this fellowship. And so I first learned about the Benin bronzes through research into Festac 77, which is one of the largest Pan-African festivals ever held on the African continent. And it took place in my birthplace of Lagos, Nigeria in 1977. And I learned that my father attended when he was 19. And I only learned about this festival in like 2019, which is crazy to me because everyone went to this festival. And I'm like, how did I just find out about it? I like was talking about it to my dad and he was casually like, oh, like, yeah, like I went to, it was almost like him saying, like, yeah, I went to Burning Man this one time, but I'm like, tell me everything. Um, and so yeah, I like recorded like an oral history with him talking about him attending this festival. And then I just had been doing a lot of research about this festival. And through that research, I learned that a replica of one of the Benin bronzes, the Idia or the Idea mask became the official emblem of Festac, while the original object remained confined within a museum. Like I guess like the Nigerian government wrote to the British government saying, "Hey, like can we have this mask back?" And they were like, "Nope, but here's a resin replica," which is so offensive. Um, and yeah, so I like actually wrote some code to scrape the entire archive in the British Museum, like all the Benin bronzes. I just wrote some code to like scrape that, and this sort of like act of digital restitution, and have been sort of building this growing database of works. I'm really interested in the different systems of classification that's imposed by museums, and thinking about how we might like decode this violence that is embedded in like the taxonomies and translations that's happening. And I think this speaks to what I think of this sort of like present absence that's imposed by colonialism, like a void that's left in its wake where like all of our heritage is displaced but never fully erased. And its effects continue to like reverberate through our collective consciousness. And so yeah, I think Festac is an example, I think, of just like a living testament to how we might like reclaim like what has been scattered like through this power of gathering, like archiving and activating our collective memory. But yeah, that's
Beautiful,
it about me.
beautiful.
Really lovely to meet you all and excited to learn about you all.
Thank you, thank you. Now, if you were listening closely, you heard Zai say that she is of Edo ancestry, and it's very important to know that the Benin Kingdom is an Edo people. It is made up of Edo people. The Benin Kingdom is an Edo country and an Edo ethnic group. And many of us are Edo. In fact, I know that from my DNA testing that I am Edo too. Now, we just speaking of Edo, and it's very interesting. Unfortunately, Prince Ovonramwen has missed Zainab's introduction, but we have with us, and I want to have him speak before we continue with the introductions of the fellows. Prince Ovonramwen, are you ready to say a few words, or you want to catch your breath? Are you coming on? You have to unmute. Greetings. How are you?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you for
Yes,
joining us.
I'm sorry, I'm just joining in.
It's okay because the fellows are just speaking and this is recorded, so you'll be able to watch it. We've done our opening prayers and poured libations, and you were actually next on the program. So I'm happy that you're here. Would you like to extend additional prayers and blessings for the program? Let me just say, Prince Ovonramwen is, let me get this right, the great grandson.
No, only one great.
Only one, so you're that close to the Oba who was deposed, and the bronzes were taken from him during the punitive expedition of 1897. Okay, and I don't know if you want to just do prayers or do you want to talk a little bit about that moment in history? It's up to you what you'd like to share with us.
Okay, what is this? I think the moment in history is sorry, I'm trying to set up the moment in history is very, very unique, and it's going to be an everlasting thing because they will always refer to it because of a lot of things that happen. Because that episode put Benin in the world map and world history, particularly world history. And another thing there that Benin was a very great kingdom, and at that time the prowess was known to the extent that the British government were envious and wanted to capture the place and have control, total control, which Ovonramwen never allowed. And that's it. It's a very long story, though. I know this time, this particular what is it called? This particular program, or it must be timed. So I'm just going to make some summary of it. Yes, Oba Ovonramwen was a paramount king, was independent, and Benin was very, very much no, because Benin extended to many places, up to Ghana. Republic du Benin, today, which is a country, also had a part of it. So it was a country of its own. They've had interactions with the Portuguese before the British came. So the Oba at that time, it was the era where there was much of industrial revolution in the Western world, particularly the British. So they wanted raw materials for their industry. So they explored and got there. And what really happened was they were having trades there, and the Oba was the one that controls everything. So he said he made it that they should not trade with the British because they were more or less exploiting the people. So they never liked it. So what is there is this: the British on your own, the officer there, I think Consul Phillips, thought it wise to go to Benin and remove the king so that they could have complete control. And when they got there, the Oba was observing a kind of festival which prevents him, or in which he will not receive visitors. So they told them to go back. I think it's exactly this time. Yeah, it was in January 1897. They now told them that they should go back and come in 3 months' time. No, the Consul Phillips and his men said no, they want to see the Oba because of their intention. So I don't know what happened. So the Benin army laid ambush and killed 7 of the Europeans. So, and after that, there was a reprisal from the British, and then they conquered Benin after the war. Yet, the Oba was not the Oba had to leave the capital in hiding. After about 6 months, he came out and not basically surrender, appeared before the consul, the Rafmo. Rafmo was the person in charge at that time. So when he got there, he was asked to surrender. And the Oba never wanted to surrender. So they now asked him that, well, they have already conquered Benin. So he's the Queen of England that is now in charge of the place. So he will no longer be the king as he used to be, but he will still be respected as the high chief. So what he said then, they asked him to go and think over it. In 3 days' time, he should report to know the new order. So when the Oba went, the Oba refused and said he's not going back because he wants his independence as it used to be. And he wants Benin to be what it is. So he didn't go back to report. And that was what made Ravmon to get some emissaries and all. They went to look for him and caught him, took him to Calabar. So Calabar at that time was the seat of Southern Protectorate. It was a kind of capital of a zone. So that was why the Oba was taken to Calabar. And yet he never yielded because he said he didn't want them to, he wanted the independence and he wants his country to still be as it be. So that was what happened, and they took him. So for 17 years, he was there. But the British, though, were not really callous over him in the sense that they took care of him. They paid him. They were giving him some stipends, and then he left, but they never allowed him to come back to Benin until he died. And the ancient Benin Kingdom has a lot of history, so much history. And most of the southern part of Nigeria, apart from, let me call it the riverine side, they call it the south region. Most of them migrated from Benin, though the languages are now very diverse. So that's it. And if we look at Benin today, if you look at the way the Oba is being respected, the way the Oba is being revered, and his authority, you can transpose it back to at that time when there was much of independence. So it was enormous. The Oba commanded a lot of but Oba Ovonramwen was anti-imperialism and could be seen as a patriot, could also be seen as a king that was really a leader for the people. Yes, and for that reason, he's much more talked about amongst the Benin Obas. Yeah, though there are other ones too that this one, but in his own because of the historical and the Benin artifacts also made him popular and made Benin popular. That's why, and then for those of people that came from the origin that originated, the descendants of the ancestors from Benin that are in diaspora, when they hear and see all this, they look at the proud. So it's a thing of pride that yes, our ancestors in that time were also very, very ingenious. They were very, very organized. They were also civilized. But if not for the fact that the European, or let me be particular, the British came and conquered them, I wonder how it would have looked like. They would have also developed a lot of things. But it was a development that was stifled. So that is how it is. But anyway, we're still happy. And then if you see the present day Edo State, you have, let me just say, you have the Edo South, Edo Central, and Edo North. These are Benin. This is the remaining core part of ancient Benin Kingdom. So the south is where the Oba is, and that they call them, everybody is Edo, But to differentiate them, you know, Benin is not the original name. It's not the traditional name. Benin is like a nickname given to Edo people. Yeah, the original people is Edo. That's the traditional name. But when the Portuguese came, there is the Shekiri. Shekiri also moved away from Benin, but they have their own language. They describe the Benin, the Edo South, where the capital is, as Ubini. They call it Ubini. That is Ubini. So when the British was having interactions with them first. So when they now corrupted that Ubini to Benin. So the European now got to know Edo people as Benin. So, and that is the name they now use to describe the people. But basically, Edo State. Edo is the generic name. So in that Edo, you have the Benin in the south, Edo South. Edo Central, you have the Esan. Then the Edo North, you have the Owan, Akoko Edo, and Esako. Yeah, those are so. But the distinctiveness is that the Edo Central is basically constituted by Esan. Then the Edo South is Benin, the way they now differentiate it. Then the Edo North is Owan, Esako, and Akoko Edo. In the Edo North, you have much of different dialects. It's not distinct. Everybody speaks Edo, but the dialects vary. Esan and Benin, which is the Edo South, Edo Central and Edo South, they are just the same, but with some differentiation in the dialect.
Prince Ovonramwen, that's exactly where we were, like basically highlighting the Edo connection between our fellow Zai, who has introduced herself already, and you know, even myself being Edo, but of Asan ancestry. In particular Asan, based on my DNA testing, and lots of us involved in this effort have this Asan DNA. We have fellows that have to leave, and I want to thank you so much for sharing your words with us, Prince Ovonramwen, and also for being here. Your support is so very valued. It is so very important that folks from the kingdom come out and exchange information, education. This whole effort is about unity and education. And I think that you know, represent all of what we need to move forward together as a people. So I thank you for being here and always being here. Always, I really do appreciate that. I think we all can say that. Now, let me just say, Kalindah has to go to another meeting, so I would like to invite her out of alphabetical order to introduce herself. But Kalindah Leveaux is someone that I met in New Orleans. Really, you know, with everything, the ancestors are involved. I mean, even with Zai being the person that Blake would meet and you being Edo and coming to the space. But with Kalindah, it's the same kind of thing. I can't share the whole story, but I just want you to know that it's quite an amazing story. But Kalindah, please share who you are, why you're here, what do you hope to gain from this? Something about your ethnic background, coming out of Louisiana. Let go for it.
Okay, so I'm Voodoo Queen Kalindah Leveaux, and I'm here in New Orleans, Louisiana. And here I am a priestess. I'm also a musician, artist, dancer, and historian. Here, our traditions, we maintain masquerades here, we maintain spiritual traditions here, and the culture is still very much as possible in the United States, is still very much infused with our, African expression. So the groups that make up this culture, which I'm Afro Creole in Louisiana, that would be Benin, Togo, Ghana, Nigeria, also Senegambia, also the Congo. All of those are also in my ancestry as well. And so I'm here today because Deadria originally told me about the Benin bronzes, and she's been sharing information with me over the years about the Benin bronzes. And I'm very much interested in the outcome of what she's doing. And I'm also very much interested in just connecting to my ancestry, not only to know about it, but to actually touch it, to connect with it every opportunity that I get. I've been to West Africa several times now, but every chance I get, I want to connect and touch that past. And I definitely think it's a worthy cause.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kalindah. Yes, like Kalindah is someone that I went to at the very beginning of this work, and shared with her a booklet on the bronzes at the Met, I think it is, and also a manilla. I think I may have even given you a manilla. So that was at the very beginning, and I mean, it was before anything, before any of our advocacy in 2022. We sat together. I won't tell you what she told me, but I will just say progress is happening. Okay. So, thank you, Kalindah. I know you have to get going. So whenever you have to leave, you just and thank you so much for pouring libations for us today. I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay. So, our next fellow is Dana Marie.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dana. I'm very excited to be here. I feel like I'm absorbing a lot of information that's very new to me, and I'm very curious to learn more. I found out about Deidre and this whole fellowship from my professor Blake Hilton at Pratt. Blake was my mold making professor and also my bronze making professor at Pratt. So we had two classes together and it was amazing. So thanks, Blake, for having me and introducing me to this program. And a little bit about me. I'm an interdisciplinary artist, so I work in sculpture, painting, and performance art. I'm originally from Jamaica, and um, you mentioned to talk a little bit about connection, and while I can't necessarily give like a direct connection of how I might be related to this. I do know based on things that I've learned as a child and growing up in Jamaica about the history of the transatlantic slave trade. 2 million enslaved Africans were brought to Jamaica, and so there's this very rich history of West Africans being in Jamaica, who were taken through the Middle Passage, which was a very gruesome experience for a lot of West Africans, and so I'm even more so intrigued of learning more about that history and also being able to talk about it more when I go back home because I feel like not a lot of Jamaicans are fully aware of that history and connection to Benin and Benin Bronze and all of that. So yeah, and I first learned about the Benin Bronze in my contemporary art class at Pratt Institute with Nyama Sandy. And that was like my first time learning about restitution and all of that related to the Benin Bronze. Yeah. And that's it for me. Very excited to be here and very excited for the fellowship. I'm not hearing you, Deidre.
Thank you. Sorry
Yeah,
about that.
sorry. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you. Thank you so much, Dana Marie. Our next fellow is Julian, who is also one of the instructors. He's going to do 3D instruction and 3D manufacturing. Okay.
Cool. All right. I have a post-it and I also have the email to follow. All right. So, Julian. Hi, I'm Julian, a creative technologist, mad scientist, fire starter. I like creating experiences that make complicated concepts more approachable to a wide populace of people. Because what's the point in gatekeeping knowledge? What do I hope to gain from this fellowship? I hope to um first foster fellowship because fostering, like, if it's a fellowship, we're supposed to commune with each other. There in my lifetime so far, like, I've seen a lot of like talented people and people of note, but there is a lack of opportunities like this for us to like commune together, be able to share knowledge, because without opportunities like this, then knowledge gets lost. And that kind of ties into why what I hope to get out of this is just that, like, there are moments where I feel most connected to my ancestors, and that's through making. So growing up, I was like my dad's shadow. He was like a full time like contractor, so he taught me how to be good with my hands. And then his dad, um, uh, is Jamaican, and he built the two houses on his land. And then his father was a escaped slave, so that's the proximity. And then through this making or the act of like creation is how I feel connected to my past ancestors. Um, in addition to that, I just generally like history. So you might have seen me for Prince's like quick lesson, like trying to jot things on a post-it, because I always love absorbing knowledge. Um, what haven't I hit? Context, understanding, and appreciation. So I would just like some more context on the Benin Kingdom and the beautiful artworks that were created. And the context being like, yes, it looks beautiful and there's a lot of craftsmanship that went into this, but understanding the history and the pain, because like these things are physical manifestations of the expressions and the experiences of a people. And that should be captured too, um, not just for the sake of like entertainment of oohs or ahs. It's deeper than that. Um, Food, craft preservation of history, national background, kind of touched on that. I think that's it for now.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Julian. Um, okay, Kim. Kim, can you? Okay, there we go.
Nice. I'm not sure if you can hear me,
We can hear you.
but
We
I've
can see you.
unmuted. Great. So it's a pleasure to be here. I really come to this space as a student. I do many things. I'm a creative. I'm an artist. Across discipline, interdisciplinary. I'm vested in exploring the history of the African diaspora. And but how that shows up in this space, I don't know. I, in 2025, created a cultural reparations framework. 2025 was the United Nations International Year of Cooperatives, as well as the African Union's Year of Reparations. And our organization, Teaching Artists Institute, in some ways, I'm the chief visionary, and my curatorial practice shows up through immersive Pan African learning journeys and experiences. But this space is really an opportunity for me to take pause and deeper dive into my own Pan African immersive learning journey. And my my home base here in these divided states is here in Baltimore. And my lineage is a part of the largest migration of people on Earth, those in the south of the divided states that moved to the north and the west and central regions. My grandmother was a part of that migration. She came out of South Carolina and North Carolina, Kingstree, and also in Durham and Roxborough on both sides, and they found space in Baltimore to build my family. That's how I ended up here. And because of the Restitution Study Group, this past Kwanzaa, we began to geographically map our family's DNA. So my 93-year-old grandmother took her DNA tests, my mother and my sister. So we submitted those. Me, I'm still on the fence. Ideologically, I'm a Pan-African nationalist. And so I like feeling at home in Edo and Benin Kingdom as much as I do in Tanzania and on the coast. You know, that feeling of seeing my cousins in the audience and in the village and feeling like, I could be from here. That to me is one of the beautiful things that happened in the diaspora. We're the composite. We're the combination of so many different African expressions. We are Creole, and I lean into that in my practice. I'm really just here as a student. I want to learn. I've heard so much from all of you, so much that I can glean from, and I look forward to having that as a part of my repertoire after this coming weekend. So, Asante Sana.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. Okay, now, is it Ree or is it Rye? I'm not sure.
It's Rye.
Rye, okay,
Yeah.
wonderful.
Hi, I'm Rye. I'm Black American. I'm from Tennessee. My folks have been in like Middle Tennessee for at least 5 or 6 recorded generations. Um, I also kind of came to this project through Blake. I had him for a mold making class as well. And in general, with thinking about like the Benin Bronzes, I also like went to school in undergrad in Boston. So I got to see some of them in person at the MFA in Boston. And then I took a lot of like art history classes surrounding like decolonizing like art history as a practice. And one of the things that very clearly came up was like the repatriation of objects from colonized peoples around the world, particularly in West Africa. And especially thinking about the way that craftsmanship has kind of been devalued in an art historical context. So that's something that's really important to me, but as like a multidisciplinary artist that uses like craft traditions in like my work. So also if you see me looking down, it's because I took notes so I wouldn't forget anything. But Yeah, thinking about in my work, like I'm creating immersive installations that like bridge the contemporary Black American Southern experience with kind of a Pan-African perspective of how we got here. Um, yeah, I think I hit everything that I wanted to say. I'm really just excited to kind of come at this from like a craft and labor standpoint because I think like that's one of the best ways to really connect with the like tradition and the practice of being a craftsperson and like making something beautiful and something that's like representative of a spiritual lineage. But yeah, thank you guys so much for this opportunity. It's been so nice to hear from everyone.
Well, thank you so much for your interest and showing up, for showing up. It's just listen, believe it or not, that's the toughest part, believe it or not. Well, now that we've heard from all of you, I'd like to introduce our instructors. Now, Julian has already spoken, but he's going to come back. I first want to introduce Blake, who's going to tell you a little bit about what to expect in the class. And you've already heard a bit of what Blake is about. He is a professor, an associate professor at Pratt Institute. I think he's now also teaching at Rhode Island School of Design, which is his alma mater. But Blake, I have to say, is super generous with time and energy. You can't even imagine how much time he donates to this program. And we're really blessed for it. There's so much love and energy coming from you to make this happen. And we just appreciate you. I have to say, I can't say that enough. But Blake is a foundry expert artist, started from, I believe, 17 years old, if not younger, really young. And we are so lucky that this is something that he chose to do. Blake, tell us a little bit about yourself and then tell us what the fellows can expect as far as what you're going to do
Yeah,
with
sure.
this
Everybody hear
second
me okay?
cohort. Mhm.
You can hear me? Yeah, okay.
Yes.
A little bit about my ancestry. I have zero blood connection to Africa, if you can't tell. I'm mostly Scandinavian, of Finnish heritage, and there's some mixed in German, English, and Irish, so Northern European, but very much American. Born and raised in New Hampshire to parents who were from Connecticut, and so actually we did a ancestry study within the family, and we can trace our heritage back to the American Revolution. So I'm a son of the American Revolution, so we've been here for a while. And yeah, so as you know, I met Deadria through installing a shelving system. I met Zay in the same way. And I have a couple of students from Pratt here, former student and Ryan, I don't know if you're taking any of my classes in the spring, but it has been a pleasure to meet you all. And yeah, what to say? I'm someone who very much loves the process of bronze casting, mold making and casting, and specifically metal work, bronze casting. I'm interested in the potential of material metaphor, and that's where my interest in this specific project came from. The sort of idea that a material can carry an energy with it and impose its own sort of poetics within whatever the object is, whatever the concept is. So understanding that these pieces are made from this currency was interesting and poetic for me in that kind of way. So last year we started this fellowship, and we were able to follow it through to the creation of a replica. Like I said, with the help of Julian printing out the piece, and through that fellowship, we made a mold off of that 3D printed piece. We cast it in wax. We cleaned up the wax. We cast it in bronze, and then we cleaned up the bronze. And what we came to understand is that full process it's too labor intensive for essentially a weekend. It's too labor intensive for a workshop, let's say. And as Dana Marie can attest to, when I'm teaching the Foundry class at Pratt, this is something that is it's a 16-week course, 4.5 hours every week. So it's quite involved. That being said, what I'm trying to do and what I want to do and is my passion is get people excited about this process, because I find it to be extraordinary. It is a process that changed the trajectory of humans on Earth. We went from a Neolithic, Stone-aged people to the Bronze Age, and that heralded in a whole new kind of living on Earth. Helped to develop agriculture and city-states, and it changed weaponry and all this and tools. So for me to be working with a material that hasn't, and a method that hasn't changed really in thousands of years is very, very again, I guess, poetic and profound to me. When I am casting bronze, or when I'm working with the wax, I feel a direct lineage, not just through art history, but through human cultures and human civilization. And for me, that is it's very rich in that way. So that's my sort of take on it. And yeah, so we'll be next weekend working with Julian and printing the pieces that we have scans of, which are many, and we'll have to decide how we're going to choose those pieces. And with me, I'm going to be taking you through the process of mold making and casting, how to make a rubber mold, which some of you already know, so you can help and participate in that. We will be casting wax and getting an understanding of how to work the wax with different tools, and building the structures for casting in metal, and making the plaster molds for that, and then casting bronze, and finally cleaning up those bronzes after they have been cooled. And so you'll get a sort of crash course in the whole process through the manilla, through a smaller object that we should be able to finish in a few days. And then that'll give you the basic understanding of how this process will go. One thing that Deadria and I have been working on with Julian is getting the 3D printers to be printing in wax. So we have spools of wax, and this printer can print it. And something that I'm going to be doing in this coming semester is figuring out how this wax burns out, how to do that, and making sure that that is something that we can do to expedite the process, because the issue that we have is that the 3D scanning needs to be better. The scans that we're getting from museums are they're really soft. The details aren't totally there. And also information is lost between that scan and the print. So one needs to go back into the scan to try and redetail. One needs to go back into the print to redetail. And if we have to make a mold and then a wax from that, we have to redetail that. And then from the casting in bronze, we have to redetail that. So we are trying to limit, or let's say contain, the amount of labor that needs to go back into each of these transformative processes where information gets lost. So these are things that we're going to be thinking about, things that we're going to be working on. And I couldn't be more excited to have Julian on board with this, because the 3D printing process is not something that I have a lot of experience with, and I'm really excited to learn more from him. And I think it's going to be a great weekend. I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you, Blake. Thank you. And yes, you hit it right on the head. And just for clarity, we are engaged in this training around replica making because there is so much of a battle over where the bronzes should go. And some of them are being repatriated to Nigeria. And we believe they should be circulating, so they should go to Nigeria, and some should stay with us. But to ensure that there's the access in places, in our communities where we can go and touch a bronze and study it and learn our history, or in places like Jamaica or Brazil or, anywhere else, a community in the UK. We feel that it's important to create a collection of replicas that can circulate. And let me just say, we've been blessed to actually acquire an authentic Benin bronze, and it's probably worth between $3 and $6 million. But we have to really think about how we're going to display this relic, because it's very expensive. The insurance is very expensive. And so one of the things you guys are going to be doing is creating a scan so that we can create a replica that we can comfortably exhibit and circulate. And so I'm going to pass you on now to Julian, who can talk a little bit about what he's going to be teaching you, because that's where you're going to learn that side of this process. Thank you, Julian.
So yeah, the scanning is I plan to demo just the scanning process, the do's and the don'ts. Because what good is like knowing like all the right things if like something wrong happens and you don't know what you should do. That being said, we tried scanning one of the bronzes with like a entry or like mid-tier scanner, and it was able to get some of the details, but like Blake had said, like being able to get some of the details at that early point can cause it to have information that's lost, and information that's lost in terms of like features. So like a few days ago, Deadria sent me a blue laser scanner, which seemed to capture a lot more details. I'm not gonna lie, I ignored the safety of using our class 2 laser, and even though like the scans were beautiful, it made my eyes hurt and it gave me a headache. So during the class, we will also have safety equipment so that you can be able to see this process like live. And then the way that I teach is I teach by doing. So although I may like hold the scanner at certain points, I will call on my other fellows to also take part in this process, because you'll be able to like understand how to do it through doing it, but then also ask questions. I'm someone that like I love to ask a lot of questions. I'll even ask questions that I think other people may have because I have no shame in terms of not knowing something. So if you have questions, I will answer them to the best of my ability. There's no question that's considered a dumb question for me. A question is a question. So I hope that like even like the like my diction and how chill I am in terms of the content matter or subject matter, this is like the same exact kind of flow that I have during class. So I hope that you feel comfortable.
Thank you, Jillian. And Nora, just so you know, we have glasses for you too. Okay. Nora, I don't know if everyone was here, but Nora is going to be, she's working on an article for the University of Virginia. I guess
College
it's
of William Mary. Sorry.
why do I keep saying I'm sorry? Probably your competition. And do you want to just speak a little bit about what you're doing, and then we're going to actually close the program. But yes, so Nora, go for it.
Yeah. My name is Nora. I'm an undergraduate student at the College of William Mary. I'm a history major, and I care a lot about history. I hope to be a museum professional, and I'm very interested in the ways that museums can fail. So I've been taking this journalism class, and I really wanted to focus on restitution. And through that, I ended up looking a lot at the Benin bronzes and ended up meeting Deadria, which was really interesting. And it was very surprising to me that she was one of the only people I'd met in my research who was talking about this slavery history of the bronzes and how they were connected to the slave trade. So I think that's a really important part of these pieces. I think it should be discussed a lot more in all of these big conversations. I'm really excited to learn about the fellowship process and how these replicas are going to be made. And I will be publishing an article in the spring about RSG and hopefully the gallery and everything that's happening. I'm very excited to see how it all turns out. So thank you again for letting me join this.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. And thank you for covering it. We really need, especially in academic institutions, we need as many students and professors covering this issue as possible because, you know, the world needs to know. And it really hurts my heart when I come across folk who don't really know the history. And when it impacts them, it actually is impacting them in ways they're not aware of. Just to give you one example, a couple of you are of Jamaican ancestry. With some of the research that we've done for the litigation we did against Smithsonian around the bronzes, we learned that most of the enslaved captives that are documented, because some of the documents are not some of the information is not documented, but the documents indicate that most of the enslaved captives of the Benin Kingdom, in exchange for these manillas, were sent to Jamaica. Okay, so a lot of people don't know that. A lot of folks are more familiar with Brazil, and Brazil was a major a place that slave traders brought captives from the Benin Kingdom. But our documents, what is documented, it's Jamaica. Just so you know that. Okay. There's a lot of these things to be discussed, and one thing that I think we have to keep in mind is we have to be sensitive, we have to be honest, and of course, anything we say, we need to be able to back it up with documentation. And so, you know, anyone having questions about anything, what we'll try to do is we'll try to keep some books in the room because we did that the last cohort, so that you can actually reference the materials, so that you can see where it is that this connection is evidenced, not only in European scholarship, but also in works coming out of the Benin Kingdom itself. All of what we say is verified, not only in other documentation, but in the most recent book published by I think it's the Benin Kingdom Council. I'm not sure that I'm pronouncing it right, but there's a council, a traditional council, and they published a book in 2018, and we really, pulled directly from them to support our claims. Okay, so this has been wonderful. I know folks want to do other things today. And I'm going to ask Queen Mother actually to if you can, Queen Mother, to do a closing prayer for us. Okay, you're let me see if I can unmute you. You have to unmute, Queen Mother. You're
So
muted.
the Queen Mother is here. I never knew.
Oh yes, yes, yes. She's here.
Yeah, my regards to you.
Okay.
Speaking. Can you hear me?
Yes, you're coming in a little shaky, but you're stronger now.
Okay.
Okay, you're good.
I'm just in the corner downstairs of the spirit of our ancestors. As I would say to all of you, may God continue lead and guide us and keep us on the sacred path of life as we do the historical research we've been destined to do. And we ask that God continue lead and guide us as Queen Mother walks through the valley and the shadows of life is what Queen Mother is doing. And as you continue to reach out to the larger and the larger of those scholars and learners of the curve that we have embarked upon, continue to work with us as we hold this day, sacred day, and a great day. Blessings to all of you. As Queen Mother would say, Ashe, Ashe, again, Ashe-o.
Ashe. Thank you so much. And listen, those of you who have not confirmed that you're going to be at the meet and greet next week, Friday, please check in. I'll check in with you, Queen Mother, to give you the details, okay? All right, many blessings, and thank you all for coming out. And I am looking forward, you guys, I'm excited about y'all. I'm looking forward to it all.
Thank you, Deadria.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Mama
you.
Ramwin.
See
Blessings.
you next week.
Bye.
Happy Kwanzaa.
Happy Kwanzaa.
Blessings.